What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Yes, I am sitting down on my chair. I know you guys probably heard me say this in the last few videos about sticking around if you guys want to see some work done on my brother's car. Today's video, we're going to be working on my brother's car. If you guys don't remember, he drives a 1988 Honda Civic wagon RT 4-wheel drive with a K20 Z3 all-wheel drive supercharged setup in it. The setup currently has a 3-pound pulley on it, and it made like 280 wheel horsepower on a Mustang dyno. And today we were supposed to do the pulley upgrade, but plans kind of changed a little bit. Let me explain. We just finished working on his CRV. We did new ball joints, we did new axles, and he went to go to the alignment shop to get his car straightened out, and it came out worser. He decided that he's not going to take his CRV camping this weekend with his company, and I was like, okay, what about the blue wagon? He was like, well, the blue wagon still needs to go through brake and lamp inspection to get the registration, so he doesn't have time to do that because of work. So he was like, well, I kind of need the brown car running since it is running, driving, and it also has registration and all that. So he was asking me if I can get his car done today so he can pack up tomorrow and take that car camping this weekend. So that means a couple of things are going to happen and a couple of things that aren't going to happen. I had planned to change out the pulley system to a much smaller one to get about 10-11 psi because we were supposed to tune his car this week with Project Blueberry, which is ready to rock and roll. But now he's not tuning, so that means I'm not doing the pulley because he's going to be driving the car a few hours. It's going to be gone for a couple of days, so I don't want him to get all antsy with his foot with the smaller pulley, which makes more boost and is not tuned for the setup. So we're not going to be doing that. But what we are going to do is we're going to be swapping out his wheel bearing because they went bad apparently, and I'm also going to finally test fit the hood that we picked up from Slimeball to see if it'll clear the supercharger pulley that's sticking out of his hood. Let's get to it. You guys have seen this car many times on the channel, especially back in 2017 when we did the swap and all. But I'm just gonna go ahead and jack the car up on one side because we're only doing a one side wheel bearing. So let's go ahead and set you guys down right here. That is a good amount of movement for the wheel bearing. But man, I've swapped the wheel bearing in this car like 1,000 times and like 2 or 3 different sets of spindles. A rotor screw fell out. Interesting. Now, I've done wheel bearings many times on the channel. I'm not going to show you guys every little detail about it, so I'm just going to set you guys down and change this wheel bearing. 32, 17, maybe a 10, and the pistol. The other day my brother came home from work and he did a 4-wheel drive donut on the grass. You can see all this stuff here, and yeah, this guy was having a little too much fun. All that whining woke me up. I don't know if you guys saw that, but axle nut was like halfway out, and I tightened it back down, threw the wheel back on, and it doesn't shake anymore. Check it out. Nada, no movement whatsoever. Axle nut. That is one less thing to do, but I am going to check the other side as well too. I take responsibility for this because I was the last one to work on his car, and I'm also taking note that his brake lines are rubbing on his axle boot, and lucky it's just the sleeving. The stainless looks good, and we're gonna zip tie this thing out of the way so we don't have any further problems. Something like that. If you guys took notice, my brother's car is on the Max P and Rod SP2 coilovers, and it is set on full stiff. He's been driving this car almost every day because obviously between those two cars, registration and alignment, he's been driving this thing more, and he hasn't really said much about the ride quality other than he's been taking it up the mountain. He's been, you know, going to Mexico with it. He said the car rides really well. I mean, I really don't know how the SP1 rode other than on my all-wheel drive CRX, which rode wonderful, but I can tell you that the SP2, the COT7 on Project Blueberry, rides even better. So I am going to be doing a full like review on the Max P and Rod COT7 coilover when Project Blueberry is all set and tuned. But right now, as far as driving it on the freeway and stuff, it feels really nice. It actually feels as good as this car, and this car has got some really beefed up suspension. So expect a review video to come for this car soon. Because we didn't spend much time on my brother's wheel bearing today because it turned out to be a-okay, we're gonna test fit the SLIMEBALLBUILT custom fiberglass wagon SIR hood, which has been sitting back there in the garage for quite some time now. If you guys are looking for fiberglass or carbon fiber SIR style or even USDM style hoods for any of the 88 to 91 Civic hatch sedan or wagons, be sure to hit up SLIMEBALLBUILT. I'll put his link in the description below, and also his Facebook, Brian Maldonado. He is pretty prompt on replies, and if you guys are looking for a hood, that is the go-to guy. So let's go ahead and pop this hood off and test fit the SIR style hood. So the hood here is a SIR style. We wanted this to clear the pulley system on the Supercharger. If you guys remember, on his stock hood, we have this freaking hole right here for the pulley. Now before, it was a giant hole for the Supercharger because we didn't have the EFK2 motor mount, so we couldn't drop it, and that means the engine sat high first time around doing this swap. Finally, just recently, we bought the spacers to drop the engine 1 inch, and that brought the Supercharger down a lot to clear the hood. Though the pulley itself was still sticking up pretty high, we still had to chop the hood a little bit. So now with the new hood is SIR style, which means it has a hump in the middle right here that gives us extra clearance. And the cool thing about this hood is the design on the inside. It's not your typical OEM webbing. It's actually entirely cleared out of the center here while still having the web on the skirt, the outside edge, and reinforced pretty much the center so that way it doesn't bow down easily. But this right here is going to give us a lot more clearance than the OE hood in hopes of clearing that pulley. So let's go ahead and test fit this, and if it looks good, we'll throw the latch on as well too and keep this on the car until we are ready for paint. Oh wow, man, not shabby. So the passenger side, you can see it's nearly all the way down. Now mind you guys, this is a fiberglass hood, so it's not going to be a perfect fit, so we do have a little bit larger gaps as far as the hood and fender goes, but nonetheless it is equal on both ends. Now this side again was my concern because of the pulley right there, and we are closed, like gapless. Driver's side, something is keeping it up, and I got to figure out something here. Oh, I see it. It's the radiator. Yep, definitely the radiator. I can feel it. Can you guys see it? All right, so, oh yeah, right there, you can see it. Okay, so that's not bad. That is not bad. What is that? That is, oh, that is on the pulley. I don't think the pulley is going to be an issue once we switch over to the smaller 3.1 or 3.0 pulley, which is a lot smaller than that one, and it should clear. But even then though, notching that is not a big deal. Notching this is not a big deal. So I think we're looking good. Actually, you know what, let's just take that off. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. It's not latched down, but if I just press down on it, it closes. Okay. Okay, so wow, it looks good without that hole there. So this side right here with the pulley, it's not touching anymore. The hood is actually sitting further down than the fender, so that's a good indication. And something over here is still hitting. I feel like the radiator cap needs to be clearance a little bit more because you can hear it. So I smacked the hood a couple of more times and the gray started turning black, and it turns out that that is hitting the radiator right here on the side. That's interesting. Let's clearance that. Yeah, okay, hopefully that clears. Okay guys, so the hood literally just latched without effort, and we are using the OEM latch from the metal hood. You should be able to run this hood with the OEM latch, no problems. You don't need hood pins whatsoever. I know a lot of people are always talking about fiberglass or carbon hood. You need hood pins to ensure it doesn't flop up, but this car has been on a carbon hood for about 3 years now, and I don't have hood pins on it at all. It's been latched OEM style, and I have not had an issue. But yeah, this hose right here from the person I bought it from had the sparkle style right on the shock tower. Not entirely sure why, but I am retaining the stock hood latch on this, again, with no problem. So with that fiberglass hood, should have no problems. God damn that sun glare. So the next thing I want to do right now is I want to put an intake on his car, because where he's going camping this weekend, it's off-road, and I don't want all the dirt and stuff to kind of like fly into the supercharger. Him driving to work is driving on, you know, asphalt or concrete or, you know, just cement on the floor, and not a lot of dirt is going to kick up opposed to like driving straight up on dirt roads. So his intake, I had to take it off a couple of months ago because it was causing some overheating issues. And the reason why it was causing overheating issue is because the throttle body is right in front of the top radiator hose. I had an intake on here. Let me show you guys this real quick. You see that? Straight through the throttle body. I had an intake on here connected to the throttle body, and it was sitting on top of the radiator hose. You can see the little mark right there, the little indentation. And what that did was it squished the top hose down, causing this to be fully squeezed, and it kind of made the diameter a lot smaller on the inside and caused inefficient coolant flow. So I had to take out the intake just so the coolant will flow and his car doesn't overheat as much anymore. But I want to put an intake on. That means I need to reroute his upper coolant line. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack the car up, drain the coolant just a little bit, just to get this empty so we can take it off and figure our routing for the new line. If you guys notice, my brother's car does not have an intake, and I want to put an intake back on the car because he is going camping this weekend and he's going to be going off-roading where a lot of dirt is going to be flying up, and we don't want all that dirt to get into the supercharger. And he's been driving like this, which is okay for regular like asphalt, concrete, you know, roads out here. But driving on the dirt, it's a different story. So the reason why the intake came off was because the car was kind of like running hot. It was running hot because if you look, the throttle body is in line with the upper coolant hose. I had an intake connected to this throttle body, which means it sat on top of the radiator hose. You can kind of see the imprint there. I think I've shown it in a previous vlog before of when I did take off this intake, and what it did was with the intake in the way, it squished this hose where the inner diameter got really small and caused the coolant flow to be very inefficient. So we took the intake off just so that the radiator hose has full diameter on the inside for the flow of coolant. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jack the car up, drain the coolant just a little bit just to get this top line to be cleared out so we can take it off without spilling too much. We're going to try to use whatever I have in my bin to make a different routing for the upper radiator hose, so that way we can have enough space to put a coupler to possibly go down and make an intake somewhere down here. All right, guys, so things kind of escalated a little quickly. The radiator is out. The inlet to the radiator from the top hose is just way too tight with the throttle body, and I need a really tight bend, and even then it will still hit the coupler. So I decided to just take the radiator off and give it the blueberry treatment. We cut the inlet out and we moved it over towards the driver's side, and we have it plugged where it was originally sitting. So I'm just gonna go ahead and weld this up and really just get this thing done because my brother needs to load his car up to go camping, and it's already 9 o'clock. So the battery in the GoPro died on that last clip. I have the top inlet welded up and the hole previously also welded up. I am going to toss the fan back on so we can get the radiator back into the car and continue where we left off with the hoses. I did find a RSX radiator hose right here, so I might be able to use this. So let's go ahead and get that radiator back into the car. All right, so we have the radiator back into the car. Fan plug is plugged, and we have the new radiator hose installed with the inline coolant adapter for the sensor. Before, the inlet to the radiator was right here in front of the throttle body, and the hose was something like that where we didn't really have much space to put an intake on. So now we are scoot over probably like 3.5 inches towards the driver's side, and we have all this space now for a coupler and a 3-inch piping. So I don't remember where his old intake went. I can't find it, so I might have to make one from scratch, but not a big deal. So the throttle body is not a 3-inch, and I don't have a coupler to fit it, but I am going to use this 3-inch here that I already have and just kind of, you know, use it for mock-up, or probably even just, you know, zap it into place with a worm clamp. But I'm gonna go ahead and just shimmy that on there, and that's gonna point the 3-inch intake towards this hole down there where the filter is probably going to be sitting, just so we can get direct fresh air from that hole, which goes through the front bumper. Kind of, but all of this right here, you can remove it. So let me figure out an intake system and get that going, because again, kind of fell into the night here very unexpectedly. before we wrap up tonight, there's one more thing I'm going to do. The ECU plug, I think the blue wire for the RPM gauge had disconnected from the plug, my brother told me, and he's asking me to repair it so he can have RPM on his gauge cluster. So I'm gonna get my flashlight, see what's going on down there, and see if I can repair it really quickly before we cap this video out. So this blue wire right here, I don't know when it disconnected, but my brother said he tried to connect it back together, but it's just too short to try to connect it back to the terminal. So I'm gonna try to de-pin this, extend this blue wire, and then try to crimp it back onto the terminal. I don't think I have this style terminal in my bin, so I'm gonna try to salvage it, but first gotta figure out how it comes apart. 1 2 3 4 5 6, slot number 6, bottom row. There it is, taken out. If I had a new terminal, I would have terminated a new terminal, but I don't. So this will work. 1 2 3 4 5 6. All right, let's see if its RPM works. We have RPM. Gucci taters. All right, guys, so we are going to wrap up this video. We got to work on my brother's car a little bit. Unfortunately, it's not going to the dyno, but it also means we're going to be working on this car again in a different video. I want to install a catch can that was sent to the PO box, as well as the pulley and possibly the 4-bar map sensor to get it ready for maybe a different dyno day, which I don't mind. I don't mind going back to the dyno. But anyways, we made some progress update on my brother's car, man. We got the hood provided by SLIMEBALL installed on the car, modified to fit the supercharger, and we were able to relocate the coolant upper hose to fit an intake. I kind of made something, you know, based off my scrap material, because I don't remember where his original intake went. But on a different day, we'll probably build him a nicer intake and a new filter, because the one on there is from my scrap pile. But anyways, progress is better than no progress, guys. The car is looking freaking awesome with this hood. If you're interested in a USDM, JDM, SIR style, or a USDM style hood, carbon fiber or fiberglass, be sure to hit up SLIMEBALL Built on Instagram and Brian Maldonado on Facebook. But hit him up, let him know I sent you, and that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the update on my brother's wagon. Supercharged K20 Z3 all-wheel drive. Be sure to leave a thumbs up if you did. And if you guys want to stick around for the dyno sesh of Project Blueberry right there, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. I know, I've said it like 1,000 times now. We're going to dyno Blueberry, but I can assure you it's going to happen this week.